your problems. Now, there are times when you need people to give you objective perspective, and this might be something that's helpful. But if that hasn't been communicated, that I'd really like to get your thoughts on this, be careful about not trying to solve the problem and give advice, because that's often not what people need. Don't overuse paraphrasing. That's something I want to stress with you, because I'm telling you that you need to paraphrase, but make sure that you do it with discretion. It can really bog down a conversation, and it can be very annoying and frustrating. And I'll actually give you a very short story. I was working with a 5-year-old boy, 4 maybe, yeah, 4 I think, and one of the skills that we use in play therapy is we reflect content, which is what that's the same phrase that I used for this idea of paraphrasing. And basically, reflecting content in a play therapy setting is the child says something to you and you say back to them what they've communicated. And so then that does a lot to establish trust and rapport, and it helps them feel heard and understood and all those good things. So there's lots and lots of benefits of reflecting content. Well, this 4-year-old boy he was very verbal, so he would say everything he was doing. Oh, I'm moving the guy over here, and now I'm building a tower, and I'm going to use the red blocks, and I'm going to do this. And so a lot of my initial work with him was reflecting content. So he would say things to me, and I would summarize and say them back. Well, he was not used to that type of interaction, obviously. And I would say the second week that he was there, he finally looked at me and he puffed his chest up and he said, "Stop copying me." And then, of course, what do? I say, "You are frustrated that I'm copying you." And I said, "Stop copying me. You are telling me again that you don't want me to copy you." And that was actually a therapeutic approach. And so I was purposeful in the fact that I continued with it even when he said not to. But the idea is that you don't want to sound like a parrot. And you don't want, if someone says, "I went to the store and on the way there was an accident, and it really upset me because I could see the person on the stretcher," and then you say, "Oh yeah, so you went to the store and there was an accident and it upset you because of the person on the stretcher." You're not just going to be robotically parroting what is said. The idea is focus on the key points and the key feelings. And so it can be a very short, concise response, and it does not need to be something that you use over and over and over again and ad nauseum. Okay, so here's a little illustration for you. David and Mike are having a conversation, and this is a little probably more than you need to be, but I just want you to have a specific, concise example of paraphrasing. So David says, "I think I'm in over my head. My boss gave me a job to do, and I just don't know how to do it. I'm afraid I've bitten off more than I can chew." Mike, before he responds, thinks how he would feel if he were given an important task at work but did not know how to complete the task, then asks for more information. Pause. That right there, thinks how he would feel if he were given an important task, that is empathy. I'm putting myself in your shoes. I'm trying to feel what you are feeling. So then his response is, "What job did she ask you to do?" He's trying to get more information. David responds, "I'm supposed to do an inventory of all the items in the warehouse on the new computer system and have it finished by the end of the week. I don't have the foggiest notion of how to start. I've never even used that system." So now that Mike has enough information and he thinks how he would feel in that situation, he summarizes the feelings by paraphrasing. So you feel panicked because you may not have enough time to learn the system and do the inventory. Notice he not only reflected content, but he reflected feelings there. And then David says, "Well, I'm not only panicked, I'm afraid I may be fired." So because Mike summarized feelings and content, David added more information. You will find that happens a lot. The more you paraphrase feelings and content, the more response you get from people. And often, the less questions you ask, the more information you get. So if you respond to someone by saying you feel panicked because you may not have enough time, notice David affords more information, but had Mike said, "Well, what are you feeling?" The likelihood is David may not have said, "Well, I'm not only panicked, I'm afraid I could be fired." But that came out because Mike accurately summarized feelings. That's important. So, "I'm not only panicked, I'm afraid I may be fired." Mike summarizes feelings again. So your fear that you might lose your job is getting in the way of focusing on the task and seeing what you can get done. It's making you feel like you made a mistake in taking this job. And David says, that's exactly how I feel. So that's probably a little over paraphrased and a little overdone. But as you can see, I want you to get a feel for summarizing not only what's being said, but the emotions that are being communicated. And the result is David feels heard and understood. And that's the whole point. Okay, so improving critical listening. Critical listening evaluates the quality, appropriateness, value, or importance of the information that you hear. So you're thinking about the quality of the information. Is it worthwhile? Is it appropriate? Does it have value or importance? And the goal of critical listening is to use information to help you make a choice. And there's a difference in listening empathically or recalling directions to Einstein bagels. And so the idea of critical listening is it's when you know that you're choosing specific information over another. So obviously, if you want to listen empathically to someone, your evaluation of the quality, the appropriateness, the value is going to be very different than if someone's telling you how to get to Einstein bagels. Your critical listening is going to be on a very different level. Okay, information triage. What is your first thought when you hear the term information triage? You may have a connotation of triage outside of the classroom. So what do you think of when you hear information triage? I think of like the ER. You come in, you have to triage, so you decide, what do I have to do first, what's the most important, and then you define the process based on the severity and things like that. So same concept with information. You evaluate and sort it. You identify important, useful information, and then also flawed or less helpful information. And it's really like a priority system. So I'm going to sort it all out, and this is important, this is useful, and then you go down from there, all the way down to this is not helpful at all, I don't even need this information. So how do you information triage? What do you have to do to make that happen? First of all, you have to listen. Be sure that you understand the message. That's crucial. Then you